One small accident brought me the joy I didn't know I was missing. I was rushing through the supermarket after a long, draining day, the kind where you walk fast just to make it feel like your life is moving. My mind was everywhere, except where my feet were, which is probably why I didn't notice the tiny old woman standing behind me until I backed straight into her shopping cart. Her produce went flying. My bag slid open. We both froze in horror. "I am so sorry," I started, already kneeling to gather her apples. But she laughed. A warm, surprisingly bright laugh that filled the aisle. "You didn't knock me over," she said, "so we'll call it a victory." Something about her voice softened the tight knot I'd been carrying in my chest all week. She introduced herself as Helen, 82, proud owner of a garden that refuses to behave, recent widow, and, as she put it, an expert at finding people who look like they need a warm drink. Before I knew it, she was inviting me for tea. Right there in the supermarket. I should have said no. I didn't know her. I had work to finish. I wasn't the type to follow strangers home. But something in her sincerity disarmed me. Or maybe I just needed someone, anyone, to look at me the way she did. Like I mattered. So I said yes. Her home was a cozy chaos of teacups, knitting projects, framed photos, and plants that grew in directions plants shouldn't grow. The moment I stepped inside, the air felt softer, safer. We drank chamomile tea while she told me stories about her late husband, the way he always whistled when he cooked, how he once painted their hallway sunflower yellow because she said the house needed more courage. Her voice didn't shake. Her smile didn't break. Love made things glow in her. It didn't seem to haunt her the way I expected. At some point, without meaning to, I told her about my burnout, about feeling like my life had become a loop of exhaustion and obligation, how I used to love painting but hadn't touched a brush in years. She listened the way people rarely listen, fully, with curiosity instead of judgment. "You're not lost," she said. "You simply paused." Paused. The word hit me in a place I didn't know was bruised. Before I left, she pressed a small wrapped package into my hand. "For later," she said. "Use it when you're ready." At home that night, I opened it to find a tiny watercolor set, neatly packed, barely used, and a note. "Joy waits patiently. Let her in." I stared at the colors for a long time. I didn't paint that night, or the next, but the watercolor set sat on my table like a quiet promise. A week later, I picked up the brush. My first attempt was awful. The second wasn't much better, but something inside me loosened when the colors touched the paper, like a part of me that had been sleeping finally stretched awake. I visited Helen again, and again. Soon, it became routine. Wednesday teas, Saturday garden walks, Sunday morning chats where she asked questions no one had asked me in years, about my hopes, my fears, my small joys. She didn't try to fix my life. She just stood beside me while I found pieces of it again. She proudly displayed my messy early paintings on her fridge. "Art doesn't need to be good," she said. "It needs to be honest." Months passed, and the gray tint over my days slowly receded. I started painting regularly. Entered a local art fair because she insisted. Won second place because she forced me to submit. She celebrated harder than I did, clapping, crying, hugging me like I was her own granddaughter. One evening as we sat on her porch watching the sky turn gold, she said, "I hope you know you brought color back into my life too." I looked at her, this tiny woman with giant warmth, and realized it was true. We had rescued each other, quietly, gently, without meaning to. Last week, she handed me a new watercolor set, this one big and expensive. "For your next chapter," she said, "because paused things don't stay paused forever." I hugged her, feeling tears sting my eyes. Some people enter your life softly, through a spilled bag of groceries or a shared moment of embarrassment, and somehow end up stitching your world back together. Helen did that for me, and because of her, my life finally feels like it's moving again. Not fast, not chaotically, but beautifully.